What's a no shit moment where you realized you've been doing something the wrong way for years? I owned a car with swivel headlights and it was very nice to have that. Discovered 3 years in that I had never turned on the swivel feature. I learned at 27 that the top of the stove can be simply lifted up, allowing you to clean under it easily. My family always had a cup next to the bathroom sink in case you needed to rinse your mouth after brushing your teeth or maybe get a quick drink of water in the middle of the night. My grandma had the same cup at her house. I used it for years whenever I was thirsty. One day she saw me doing this and said, "Don't use that cup. That's where grandma puts her teeth." Not mine, but my dad has been spelling his name wrong his whole life. He's 51. His name is Jeffrey, and he's been spelling it like that since he learned how to spell his name. A few months ago my mom pulled out his birth certificate, and we all learned it's actually spelled Jeffrey. Not sure if he spells it correctly now, but it was definitely a no shit moment for him. One day I used the key fob to remotely start my dad's car. It was a no shit moment for him. 2 years and he didn't realize he had this handy little function. When I was a kid, I was told that the paper that came on cupcakes muffins was edible. I would spend a decade eating them like this, paper and all, until a friend pointed it out and amp, X200B. My wife and I have this ceiling fan light in our bedroom in the house we moved into 2 years ago. It has a remote control for the fan and lights. About a year and a half ago the lights suddenly stopped working. The fan works well and we didn't have a ton of money, so we've just lived with lamps in the room, always being frustrated with how damn dark it is. I was scrolling some other thread on askReddit a few weeks ago and the top post was a guy talking about how his lights stopped working years ago, and then he found out that it was just dimmed, which you do by holding down the button on the remote. It sounded so much like our fan I went and tried it. Dimmed. I used to fill the kettle by the spout. My parents have always done it this way. I thought the center part was mainly for decoration, but not functional. I don't know why I never questioned this. One day I bought a new tea kettle and my husband was like, "WTF, what is inside this?" And with great ease, opened the center to pull out a manual with instructions and whatnot. I was drinking dirty paper water for like 2 weeks. I didn't find out that I was supposed to punch out for lunch until my 3rd job. And even then it was because a coworker mentioned it in passing that they were clocking out for lunch. That you do, in fact, need to disassemble your laundry dryer and clean the lint out from underneath the drum once per year. I'm 31 and never knew this. No one ever said anything. Never saw anyone do this. Crappiest thing is that my parents also learned this the hard way and never bothered to give me a tip when I bought my first dryer. Luckily, the wife and I discovered the lint buildup when changing the rollers. I said to my parents, "Wow, it really builds up in there," and they were like, "Oh yeah, you need to do that like once a year." Well, it. Not wrong for years, but I work help desk, and we use a specific, terrible piece of software for our support system, IBM Notes. It turns out that for the first 9 months I had been working there, it wasn't set up properly, so I wasn't sending any emails from it at all. No notifications that the ticket went to me, no responses from me, no close notifications, nothing. Someone noticed this, took a look, and fixed a setting. I immediately sent out over 1,000 emails to everyone in the company. When I first got a debit card and would go out to eat at restaurants with my friends, I would leave a cash tip on the table. When I got the receipt to put how much I was paying, I would write down how much money I left on the table. For at least 6 months I have double tips to every waitress I had. Former school nurse here. The number of high school boys who don't know what circumcision is amazingly high. Many think they were born circumcised. When they finally see a foreskin, they are in complete awe. When they find out the brown ring on their penis is a scar from when their foreskin was removed, they are also amazed. Not cause I've been doing something wrong my entire life, but saw it wrong. I'm colorblind and my entire life I thought peanut butter was green until I turned 19. And when I found out it was brown, my mind was blown. It took so long because no one really talks about the color of things like that. Cork guns. Everyone says that you're supposed to pull it towards you, but I saw a Reddit comment saying that they're designed to be pushed away instead. My boss looks at me funny for doing it, but it's exponentially cleaner and tighter. I didn't realize I had to brush the back of my teeth as well as the front. I was a dumb kid. I blamed toothpaste adverts until I was 15. Had 9 filings and a root canal. I used to pull my pants down all the way at the urinal. Realize the multicolored tape measures glued to the door frames of gas stations etc. are for identifying robbers, not for measuring yourself as you walk out. I mean, they can be, but that's not why they are there. Unless you're the robber. I didn't know you could take off the caps of those refrigerated coffee creamers. I had been stabbing through the foil with a knife for years until my uncle saw me and asked what the fuck I was doing, lol. Winding a watch that was battery powered. For like, a year. Ah, fuck. Thanks for making me think of that. I taught myself how to play clarinet. 6 months later someone told me that I'd been playing with the mouthpiece upside down. I used to think just reading the material was how everyone studied, so that's how I did it too. I never quite understood why my grades were so low. I'd be like, I read the page, IDK what happened, until I saw my friend making flowcharts and summaries and I was like, we don't have to do that you know, and he was like, nah, I'm just studying. It blew my mind how much better my grades got. Tying my shoes. If you need to tie your shoes more than once after putting them on, you're doing it wrong. Then a friend of mine taught me. The 2 knots are supposed to work against each other. It took me weeks to undo decades of muscle memory. But at the end of the day, now I only have to tie once in the morning, and that's it. If you want to see if yours are done wrong, the bow will be at an angle. If tied correct, the bow will be perpendicular to your foot. Plus, there's the whole I better tie my shoes 5 times a day because the knot is working itself loose. It has been liberating. Wish I learned it as a kid. Travel frequently for work and only just noticed that most laptop bags have a strap to place over a rolling suitcase handle. I thought of a second one. I was incredibly sheltered growing up. Anything sex related was taboo and not discussed. I was in middle school when instant messaging really became mainstream. I couldn't understand why the boy I had a crush on kept laughing at me and telling me not to use the shorthand come for come. I didn't find out for a few years. Related, I genuinely thought a hand job was essentially frantically waving side to side with the palm on the penis, and a blowjob was, you guessed it, blowing on a penis, until probably around 8th grade sigh. When I realized, at 18, that the phrase is up and at and not up and Adam, I was always wondering who the hell Adam was, thought it was a stupid phrase. Do you ever buy soda in a 6 or 8 pack of bottles, and then struggle to twist and pull bottle out of the tight plastic rings? There's a pull tab connected to a serrated line through the plastic. You can just pull that and then the plastic will break easily when you pull at the bottle. My aunt taught me about this over 20 years ago, because no one in my immediate family was aware of it. I let my fiancée in on the secret just last week. After moving to a new city, I went to the laundromat and the Korean lady working was yelling at me about something I couldn't understand. After some pantomime it became clear that she was upset I was putting in the wrong detergent, but it was the same kind I have been using for 8 years, since moving away to college and behind. Turns out I've been washing my clothes with only fabric softener for nearly a decade. They always smelled good, so I never really thought about it. Not my proudest moment. Found out I was lighting incense wrong. Boyfriend and I got a bunch to add to our collection of nice smells, and we would light them and they would just start a little inferno. Convinced we were buying cheap, garbage incense, we stopped using them. I proceed to buy a different brand in a hope those would work. I test light and same thing, it just goes up in an inferno. Roommate informs us you are supposed to blow them out once they catch. Oops. For 20 plus years I've been saying play it by ear instead of play it by ear. After a lengthy argument and a quick Google search, I was left with my tail between my legs. I'm vigorously checking this thread to make sure I'm not an idiot too. My girlfriend recently explained that a pony is, in fact, not a baby horse. Edit, for those asking, I've always used foal and pony interchangeably. She and I were driving and saw some small horses and I used the wrong term. She said honey bunny, patted me on the head, and has been giving me periodic crap ever since. I was dating an Asian woman some years ago, and when we got Chinese takeout, she completely unfolded the box and laid it flat like a plate. She said that was by design, and for the life of her could never understand why her friends always scooped it out onto another plate when the box was the plate. I now do this all the time and it weirds people out. Pronouncing hybrid as hybird. My husband repeated it to me in a snuffleupagus voice and I swear I had a Ratatouille food critic flashback to every time in my life I said it wrong. I was 33. I owned a light blue colored microwave for about 3 years that a family member gave me for a housewarming gift. Thought it was cool, never saw a blue microwave before. One night, a buddy asked why I never took the blue plastic wrap off my microwave, then proceeded to peel it off for me. Damn, that bitch is silver. Still miss my blue microwave sometimes though. I was 30 when I found out that an event calendar, as I called it, is not a thing and it's an advent calendar. I was 32 when I found out advent is not short for adventure. I am lactose intolerant. I genuinely did not know this for the first 25 plus years of my life. I always had to go to the bathroom after eating something with cheese in it. One day it just clicked. I bought some Lactaid, took it before the next time I ate cheese, and I didn't have to go to the bathroom. It was mind blowing. I have no idea how I didn't make the connection for years. So I guess you could say instead of having a oh shit moment I had an oh shit moment. Sometimes I assume I know the lyrics to songs I have heard on the radio for a long time. I always sang Toto's Africa as I miss the rains down in Africa, until someone made fun of me and told me it's I bless the rains down in Africa. I argued, that makes no sense. Why would someone bless rain? It's a song about longing to return to Africa, which is why they miss the rain. Then I went home and looked up the lyrics. Well, this was a few years ago. I was the director of it for a very large company. I was given a new cell phone and told to set up my voicemail. I don't know that when I recorded my name it would be played to whomever I leave a voicemail for. Well, the name I recorded was Dada84 Corporate God. I worked there for 4 years until someone in the hallway referred to me as the Corporate God. I was so embarrassed. I was at Crate and Barrel with my GF talking about how it's so weird they don't make tongs so you open them up super wide and then press in. I thought it was odd that they only gave you a super tiny opening. In the middle of me saying this she just presses the button at the bottom of the tongs I was holding and I stop mid-sentence in shame. I grew up without a mom. She passed when I was 6. I was afraid to ask my dad how to put a tampon in. One day I made a comment about age 18 to some friends that tampons hang out too far out your bajingo and made me feel like I waddled when I walk. My friend asked me how I put them in. I thought it would get stuck up there and wasn't inserting it far enough. Did it wrong for about 5 years. My friends still make fun of me for it. I can't help but use the dead mom card, but looking back it's pretty common sense how to shove it up there. Not really doing something, but I completely thought that the White House was in Washington the state until I was like 23. It's a hole in my knowledge I can neither explain nor defend. I have since visited and confirmed it's in DC. I accidentally logged my tips incorrectly for the first month or so of working at a restaurant. I'm not quite sure how I was doing it, but I ended up not getting taxed on a couple $100 because I never logged them as income. Edit, this was only on cash tips, and I have now been made aware that I didn't need to log cash tips in the first place. So I did nothing wrong. 4 years I would struggle to take the cap off new deodorant, the one under the lid. It always is so stuck down onto the deodorant stick. I had an aha moment a year or so ago that I could simply crank the deodorant stick up until the cap could easily be removed. I'm 34. It took me until age 34 to realize this. Edit. Thank you for my first silver. I'm glad I can teach the world about opening new deodorant sticks more easily. Edit 2. And thank you for my first gold. What a great day. Learned earlier last year bust a nut isn't an expression for when something hits your nuts or you land in a way that crushes them. My mom has been pronouncing Massachusetts for years and no one corrected her because they thought she just had strong feelings about Massachusetts. Pronouncing Chick-fil-A as Chick-fil-A, never had one near me so mostly just pronounced it in my head that way, so no one corrected me. Once one opened near me I told the boys at work we'd gotta go try some Chick-fil-A. They still bust my balls about it. Opening milk bottles. They all have that flap of plastic that you can grip to peel the cover off. I've ignored that for however long they've been doing them. It took my mum coming over to visit from overseas, watching me open a new bottle and ask me why I'm not using the flap for a grip. I actually asked what she meant and she showed me. I felt like I was 5 and learning how to subtract triple-digit numbers all over again. I always put my insoles in with the gel side facing up. I couldn't figure out for the life of me how people like them. Then I happened to see someone do it correctly one day. Felt like the world's biggest dumbass. I ate mangoes with the skin on for a while before I learned you're supposed to peel them. Always took things for granted. My mom used to refer to me as a bull in a china shop. Always heard it as bowl in a china shop, thinking it was a compliment. At about 22 I hear someone else use the phrase and realized she meant bull, not bowl. Wiping my ass. I always thought everyone reached their hand between their legs, but after someone making a joke about wiping their ass, I asked how they did it. Then for curiosity's sake I asked a bunch more people. I'm the only person I know that wipes their ass from between their legs. Edit. Seems to be more common than I thought. I always thought everyone did it like me, but I guess it's a pretty big split. Everyone I have asked near where I live all wipe from the side or standing up. Edit II. Wow. My first ever edit gold. Thanks, but I'm really bummed it's on a post about how I have been wiping my ass wrongly. When I was washing my pet's water dishes and then dried them, I thought, YTF am I drying the inside when it's just going to be filled with water? I've had pets my whole life. I have been doing this shit for 30 fucking years. Drying every time. Wow. I have a tendency to think I know all about something but end up being completely wrong. Like the word carafe. I thought it was pronounced like carafe, and would use that word often at my old job. Corporate came in once to visit and I walked them through my department, all the while telling that our new carafes have been so popular and selling like crazy. Also the word segue, I thought it was the best word ever, like I was such a grown up for knowing it. But I spelled it segue, and I used it in all my essays, my AP tests, finals, my college essay. I mean, I was accepted, so it all worked out. No one really ever told me you don't need to buy shoes with the 2 fingers space in front of the toes after your feet stop growing. I had been buying an entire size too big until about age 23. One day in college I decided to try a pair of Merrell barefoot type shoes, and after reading the sizing guide, bam. Mind blown. It's terribly obvious mistake. I, 29F, like to blame on being an only child. But really I'm just a fucking moron. How I pronounced FF. Not that I was doing it wrong, but I never knew the little arrow next to the gas gauge in the car told you what side the gas tank was on. Mind freaking blown when I found out.